My name's David Wise. I was born December 29th, 1953, and that was 6 weeks early. I was supposed to be born on February 14th. So as a result, I have formed a cleft palate and a cleft lip. And a few days after, when I was still in the incubator yet, the people from the clinic came out to the hospital and talked to my parents and gave them information and kind of explained to them what a cleft palate and a cleft lip was. My parents weren't even sure what that was. And 2 weeks later, I had my first surgery.
And was this at Lancaster General?
No, this was, they actually shipped me the whole way to Allentown.
Okay.
That was where Dr. Marks was surgeon.
Okay. But were you born at Lancaster General?
No, I was born in Ephrata.
Okay.
I was the lightest survivor at Ephrata when I was born.
And what was your weight?
4 pounds, 14 ounces.
Okay.
And then I lost weight. So, but yeah, 2 weeks after I was born, I think it was January 10th, had my first surgery to fill in the palate because that was causing issues with me being able to breathe and everything else. And then I think it was, I don't know if it was even a month later, I had the second surgery to repair the lip. Mm-hmm. And so I actually had 2 surgeries before I was technically supposed to be born.
Wow.
And started going to the clinic in 54 and remember a lot of stuff about the clinic. It was in the old building.
And how old were you in 54?
54 would have been a year.
Okay.
Would have been a year old. And I think from the time of my surgeries, I think I just began coming. I'm not sure. My mom used to talk about certain things, and I unfortunately never wrote it down. Mm-hmm. I should have written it down. I remember very clearly Dr. Marks, and my mom would remind me of this all the time. When I was, I don't know, I say 7 or 8. It was after one of my surgeries. Dr. Marks came up and put his arm around me and told me that one day I was going to be a preacher. And I don't know if he was psychic or what.
You have no idea what made him
I have no idea what made him say that, but a number of years later, I became a preacher. So, of course, Dr. Mazahari was a huge part of the physical changes. I was trying to think. I had between 8 and 10 surgeries and procedures in my stay there.
Between age what and what?
Well, between 2 weeks and
Wow. Okay.
I think I had my last when I was 12. Okay. I think, because it was before summer on campus. So, and I was 14 then, so I would say 12 or 13 was probably my last surgery that I had. And I know the internet, the Lancaster Cleft Palate website talks about comprehensive care, and it truly was. I mean, they took care of dental, they took care of my facial features, they took care of my speech. I remember Robert Millard was my speech pathologist, and I don't know if this was something that was even thought about back then, but even psychologically and emotionally, they were always an encouragement. I remember one time, well, I got picked on when I was in elementary school because I looked funny and I talked funny.
Where was school?
No, Reinholtz Elementary. And I'm not saying anything bad about Reinholz Elementary, but the kids were cruel. And in fact, there's a funny story. In second grade, I wanted to explain to the kids why I looked the way I did and talked the way I did. And so I went to my mom, and my mom got out my feeding bulbs that she had to feed me with, because we had a thing called show and tell. Mm-hmm. So it was my turn to go up, and I went up to the front of the class, and I held up one of the feeding bulbs, and I said, "When I was born premature, so the doctors had to put me in an incinerator." My teacher corrected me.
Right.
It wasn't an incinerator.
Right. Yeah, an incubator.
But, yeah, incubator. Yeah, and well, I remember a story with Mr. Millard. Used to always go into his little room there. He had a little office like off to the side, and one day I was really not feeling up to it. I said, it's not helping. I can't, I don't sound any different. I don't talk any different. And so Dr. Millard went out of the office, and he came back in with a box that had a reel-to-reel tape recorder, tape recordings. And he put that on his tape recorder. And
about 1960?
That would have been probably 1960, yeah. Uh-huh. So he scrolled it back to a certain area, and he played it, and it was... Wow. And he said, "Now you want to hear what you sounded like the last time?" And he said, "Bessie stayed all summer." And you could understand the words. And he goes, "Are you making progress?" I said, "Yeah."
You remember the phrases that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bessie stayed all summer. See Sally, something get seashells at the seashore. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there were all the. I had those memorized, mm-hmm. And so he was really an encouragement. And he actually told me, he said, "One day you're going to be talking to people, and you'll tell them about your cleft palate and cleft lip, and they'll say, 'I didn't even notice that you,'" and that's happened to me since that time. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, like I said, Dr. Mazahari did a lot. Another thing, and this was, I always say it was life-changing because it really was Summer on Campus in 1968. I had the opportunity to go with, I think there was 11 boys and 14 girls, I think it was, to Millersville for mm-hmm. the summer. And there was two professors, Charles Crumpton and Scott Garman, mm-hmm. and they worked with us the whole summer, 8 weeks. And
who were these?
They were the kids were kids. Other kids that had cleft palates and cleft lip.
Okay, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, and from all over.
Okay.
Yeah.
But was the Cleft Palate Clinic the one that coordinated
this? Yes, it was coordinated. I'm not sure how many years they did it, mm-hmm. but I know they did it that year. And I think Charles Crumpton was in charge of the speech and drama department or something. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so they worked with us all summer. And at the end of the summer, he came up to me, he goes, "One day you're going to be a public speaker." At the time, I would have thought he was nuts. Uh-huh. But
now this is the second time you've heard that.
Yeah, that's the second time I've heard that from somebody. And oddly enough, or coincidentally, I got into men's ministry, mm-hmm. and I became a Promise Keeper speaker, mm-hmm. and spoke in front of hundreds and hundreds of people, prayer breakfasts, men's retreats, all sorts of events for men, and felt natural doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just didn't even think about that I talked funny.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell me more about your time at? Well, should we rewind to? I want to get to your time in college.
Yeah.
But can we rewind through elementary school and did things change at all after that?
And as kids, well, first of all, my speech started to improve.
Uh-huh.
So it wasn't quite as obvious.
Right.
And as you get older, I think the having to pick on people kind of goes away, because by middle school, I don't remember. I mean, every once in a while, somebody would say, why do you talk how you do or whatever, and I just explained it to them. It wasn't really making fun or anything. Well, like I said, I was 14 when I went to summer on campus, and that would have been ninth grade. Yeah, and senior year, I fit in and did, was active in different events and things at school, and just like I was a normal person. And and part of that, I give credit to my mom. My mom and my dad. My dad's he would sit with me in front of the mirror every night. Mm-hmm. And we do the S's and we do the TH's and we do, and we had lists of things that I would say. And when we go out in public, like if we went to a restaurant, my mom would force me to order. Mm-hmm. Or somebody came up and asked me what my name was, or, or asked me a question, I had to answer it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they wouldn't understand me in the beginning, and I'd have to repeat it. Right. I, at the time, hated my mother for that. But she would always tell me, "You're no different than anybody else." Because you can kind of feel like you are different when, especially when people don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
It's. And you're a kid.
Right.
It's not quite so bad now anymore. But
do you remember teachers, like the difference between the teachers who seemed to understand what you were doing and maybe teachers who didn't have a good understanding?
Yeah. I think most of them were aware of what was going on. And actually, I took a I'm not sure what it was called, if it was called public speaking or whatever, but it was standing up in front of the class and, giving speeches, which helped me later on when I started doing sermons. And, but yeah, well, like I said, then got out of high school. Went to college, didn't complete college in the beginning. Was really kind of all over the place, didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go or anything. And it wasn't until years later that I went back to school for pastoral ministry. And then I was a lay pastor at 2 different congregations. And kind of through men's ministry, I got involved with prison ministry and became a volunteer chaplain. So I would speak. I was spoken about, was it 3 or 4 different prisons in the area that I would go into and preach or just sit and talk with some of the guys. And And every time I would do that, I would think back to Dr. Marks. Well, partly because my mom would often remind me of that, sure. But even without that, and I never stopped trying to improve. I mean, I retired from ministry, well, you never really retired. You're always a pastor.
Right.
But I retired eight years ago after all this stuff happened. But even up to like that time, after I would preach, I would always get a recording or the video of the sermon, and I would watch and I would listen, and it's like, okay, well, there I started talking too fast, and the words started not sounding clear,
Right.
And constantly doing that and using that to improve,
Right.
So I guess I'm still working on that. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
I mean, that's something that all of us should practice doing.
Yeah.
But it was only because of your circumstances that it occurred to you
yeah,
to do that.
yeah.
You talked about the summer group before campus.
Yeah.
But had you met someone? I mean, obviously you're coming into the Cleft Palate Clinic and you're
Yeah.
probably meeting other people with cleft palates
Yeah.
in the clinic. But what about in school, or what about a chance meeting? Did you ever,
Not a single person
until that summer on campus.
until that summer on campus. And first of all, it helped me realize that there are, like you said, you come into the clinic and you see other kids walking around, that obviously had, and I always tell people I feel so blessed because I lived in Lancaster County,
Right.
and the clinic was in Lancaster,
Mm-hmm.
the only one around.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we would go into the clinic, we would see people there from Colorado
Wow.
and even out of the country.
Wow.
They would come in and they would stay for
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks to a month, have surgery, and then receive all their care kind of for that month, and then they would go back home. And I thought how blessed I was. My dad would hop in the car on a Saturday morning and we'd drive
Right.
in and we'd drive home.
Mm-hmm.
It's,
Get everything taken care of.
got
in
everything
one
taken
day.
care of.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, the summer on campus was really a life changer because, first of all, like you said, I was around other people some that talked a little better than me and some that didn't talk as good, and some that were extremely shy and sheltered, and I actually felt like I was not quite at their level.
Mm-hmm.
That I was more outgoing, a little bit more outgoing than they were, and just being able to, we had I don't even know if it was one day of the week or whatever, where we would just sit in a circle, in a circle at our tables,
Mm-hmm.
and we would just talk about, what it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and I found out that there were so many others that got picked on or felt like they couldn't talk in public because they didn't, and it really was eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
It was eye-opening. And like I said, then they worked a lot with our mechanics and everything, and we would do on a Friday afternoon after we came back from the dining hall. Friday afternoon, we would do impromptu day.
Okay.
And what they would do is they would walk around, and he had slips of paper with different topics on, and he'd go and he'd hand you one, and you had from the time you got up from your chair till the time you walked to the front. And I give credit to Scott Garman for this. I think he was the one. He goes, "You're going to be a boss." He goes, "You're going to be a manager or a boss," he said, "because you can think on your feet." He goes, "There's never a time where you walk to the front and you can't think of something to say for 2 minutes."
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Because you're going to be," and ironically, I was a team leader, supervisor, assistant manager, you know, at a lot of the places where I worked, because I could think on my feet, you know, and so yeah, so like I said, the comprehensive wasn't just that they dealt with the physical, you know, the physical and the dental and the speech. They dealt with the whole. It was the whole package.
Right.
You know, the words of encouragement and sometimes the challenges. You know, and but the one thing I didn't like was that my operations were always down at Allentown, and my parents didn't live near Allentown, so I was there pretty much on my own.
Okay.
You know,
right.
for most of the time.
Okay.
And well, that
like overnights in the
yeah,
hospital. Yeah.
well, and overnight, 2 weeks.
Okay.
You know, now in this day and age, you know, they put you in the hospital and you come out the next day. Well, you didn't do that back then.
Right.
You know, they kept you for a while, and I sometimes I wouldn't see them maybe once the whole time I was at the hospital, and but it helped. It helped.
Do you remember any of the procedures in particular? Do you know what the goals were, or do you have any specific experiences with any of the procedures?
Well, like I said, at 2 weeks, there was an issue with, well, it was completely open.
Right there.
You know, there were no sinuses, there were no nothing. And so that 2 weeks, they took bone from my ankle and they made a roof of my mouth. That one I remember, and like I said, and then a few weeks after that, I had my lip repaired, so I could begin to eat and stuff, and because I wasn't gaining weight.
You can't drink from a
Yeah.
breast or a bottle. Yeah.
And most of the others, I remember going in. I don't know half the time. Half the time I didn't know what they were going to do.
Right.
I just know that when I came out, I had to eat soft-boiled eggs and Jello. You know, that was kind of the and when you're a growing boy, soft-boiled eggs and Jello just doesn't cut it. You know, so I was always eating when I got home. Yeah, like I said, and even, you know, I remember one of the secretaries, and she was Nicholas was her last name. I can't remember what her first name was, but it was like you were friends or family, because you'd go in and they'd ask you about, you know, different things and everything, and it was always everybody was always friendly.
Right.
You know.
They're watching you grow up.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they are. You know, and hopefully seeing improvements.
Right.
You know, but yeah, and I do remember, and I don't remember what age I was, but they actually did a study, and I think it was like clinic wide, because it can be. It can be passed on from generation to generation, you know, and it can be caused by different things. And they finally concluded that, well, the premature birth and the cleft palate and the cleft lip, they finally thought my mom had gotten sick during the pregnancy, and they think that's what caused the premature birth, and I wasn't fully developed by that time yet, so that's what they. But yeah, we got interviewed, and they did all kinds of tests, and I think my parents had to do like a family tree, and if there was any, you know, any others that had cleft palate and cleft lip in our family and stuff. So yeah, so when you say comprehensive, it was definitely comprehensive, and. I do remember, I think his name was Dr. Long, was there as well, and I liked him a lot better than Dr. Mazzahari. But that was only because when I saw Dr. Mazahari, I always thought of pain, because usually he was the one that inflicted the pain. Several procedures that I had done at the clinic, which I really feel, I almost felt like should have been done in the hospital, because it was pretty. But that was cutting edge back then. They were doing stuff in the dentist's office that was cutting edge technology.
Wow.
And I said today it's probably antique and old fashioned, but back then it was,
Well, you still have to do the same things. They're probably just doing it in more advanced ways.
Much more advanced ways, yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
Well, as an adult, you talk about taking on leadership roles and jobs.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like your employees noticed or treated you differently?
Not really. And I mean, I think some of them probably knew. This kind of helps.
Right, sure.
Covers the lip.
Yeah, it's
covers the lip.
A male advantage.
Yeah, covers the lip. But I think I was always careful when I was around my coworkers and stuff to always really try to speak clear. Now, if I would have gotten excited or something, maybe it would have degraded a little bit. But so like I said, I would every once in a while I would say something about a cleft palate or cleft lip, and they say, "Oh, I didn't even know, I didn't even notice or whatever." And I don't even think my congregation today, half of them even know.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like I said, a lot of that was nights in front of the mirror and Dr. Millard,
and engaged parents.
Yeah. Yes. Very much so. Very much so. And I mean, they had 2 other children besides me, and they did all my stuff and still were a part of their lives too. So
did you ever have a chance to encounter parents of children with cleft palates to share your experiences or give them advice?
Actually, when I was actually lay pastor at my former church, there was a young boy that had a cleft palate and cleft lip, and his mom came up and said that he's really struggling in school and being picked on and made fun of and everything. And she said, "Would you be able to talk to him?" So I actually kind of took him under my wing, so to speak, and I was open and honest about what happened to me growing up.
Right.
And he ended up going to college, and I'm not sure where he's at now, but So, and that's one thing that I've really tried to encourage people who are different. Because, like I said, especially back in elementary school and that, kids could be cruel. And like my mom said, I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah, and they can be cruel out of fear because
I think that was some of it. And I was always the tiniest kid in the class too, so you usually get picked on anyway. So then when you add to that the fact that I had a pushed in nose and and different things that they could see were different, they kind of increased the volume, I guess.
Right.
But
well, what kind of perspective do you think that your experiences have given you that that other people might not have? I mean, not just related to the cleft palate necessarily, but more generally in life.
Well, I gonna say I like I said, I see people now that are different for one reason or another, and it's like they're no different than me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have something going on, and I have something going on too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's actually when I had my leg amputated, I was actually the one that was doing the encouraging down in the therapy room and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and that was before I had gotten my prosthetic, and I had a number of therapists and patients say, you know, what a joy it was to have somebody who could have kind of a. I guess I look at the bright side of things. I don't know,
Yeah.
you know, and maybe that's some from that too. I don't know, but yeah, there's always a bright side,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Even with all the stuff that I went through, it could have been a lot worse,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't,
Yep.
you know. So, yeah, and like I said, I was given the opportunity to speak into people's lives and to preach to people, and hopefully made a difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal, to make a difference.
Well, you're speaking here at a museum, and we're in the process of putting together an exhibit that honors the accomplishments of the Cleft Palate Clinic and all the people who've been helped by it. If you were to be there to whisper in the ear of museum visitors, what would you advise them to pay attention to, or what would you advise them to appreciate about individuals with cleft palates, or about the clinic itself?
Well, I would definitely applaud the efforts. I mean, I don't know that I ever met H.K. Cooper. I'm not sure when he was around, but I did learn, I think through the website, how he started all this in his first floor house, in the first floor of his house. That's dedication.
Mm-hmm.
That's a commitment to wanting to make a difference,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm living proof of that making a difference. Mm-hmm. And I if I go through the museum, I really would love to see the improvements from back when he first started, mm-hmm. to, you know, as things progressed and as they learned about different things, and because the medical field in general has just gotten so advanced, mm-hmm. you know, and I'm sure that a lot of those advancements took place in taking care of cleft palate and cleft mm-hmm. lip as well. Mm-hmm. And just the fact that I was the lightest survivor at Ephrata, yeah. you know, now there are babies that are 2 pounds mm-hmm. and surviving, mm-hmm. you know. So, yeah, the advancements in medical technology, and especially cleft palate and cleft lip, I think, is what I would like people to focus on. Mm-hmm. You know, how far we've come. Mm-hmm. And when I was going through my papers for stuff I was going to bring you guys, I went through the Summer on Campus newspaper articles. Wow. Okay. And saw the pictures of the ones that were in the program, and I wonder what
where they are now.
Where they are now, what
Well,
happened?
It's easier to find people now than probably
Yeah,
any time in
yeah,
history.
yeah. But yeah, it's like you're just trying to think back. It's like, well, you know, did they receive all that I received?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
from going there.
Right.
Definitely was a life changer for
Mm-hmm.
me. And yeah, don't have a lot of contact with people that have cleft palates and cleft lips, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, just
To your knowledge.
to my knowledge,
Right.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and now every once in a while I'll see somebody in a store or walking along, and I'll see somebody. It's like, oh, they have a
Yeah.
they have a cleft lip,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, the difference from when I was little to today is
Mm-hmm.
1,000%.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
but yeah, I can't thank them enough
Yep.
for all they did.